Hey guys, welcome back to Bearded Architect Designs. Today we are not going to be doing a build, we're going to be following a little passion project of mine. Since I moved to Bend, I started a garden in my little side lot that I have. It's not very big, but it's something I've been working on. I posted an update video, you'll probably see the link to it. It's a little time lapse of me kind of just setting all the planters and everything like that. And here in Bend we get a really short growing season, and it's very late growing season. It's like, yeah, it's the middle of June and I'm finally getting to grow things that need a lot of heat, like my corn, my sunflowers, and most importantly, my pumpkins. And this year I've gotten to get a different variety of pumpkins, and you're just gonna follow me into the garden and we're gonna go and get those seeds planted. And also I'm gonna try and take you for a little quick garden tour before we get to the pumpkin planting part of the video, which will be towards the end. And then I'll just kind of show you, and right now I'll show you all of my little pots and plants and stuff like that, and you can see where I got to work with. And also you can leave with comments if you got any ideas or what I should do, or if you want to come out and see it, just let me know. Alright. So here's the reason why there is no build for today. Maybe I'll show you guys how to build one of these, but these mountainscapes I make that are 3D with borders on them, bigger ones sell really fast. I sold 2 big ones like this at my first market. I sold them literally within the first hour of having them set up there. So now I had to make more. There's even one more, but I got one. I got 5 4-foot pieces. I got 1 2-footer, and then I got a 3-footer way over there. But yeah, these things move really fast, and my shop is a mess, and I'm going to buy a air compressor after this weekend so I can clean up all of this sawdust literally just coating the floor. And also I got all my farmer's market stuff in the back corner there, so I need to figure out some way of reinventing my space. Maybe I'll do that for the next video, but if you guys want to help me out, I know I got some friends that are woodworkers and people that have shops or little storage places of their own. I want to see what you guys have to do, or what do you guys think I should do with my space to make it more effective. So I think maybe I should put some drying racks over there first instead of having to lay them out all along here. It'd be really nice if I had a second garage or a 2-car garage so I can set up a little drying corner booth and keep working in the shop, but no, it becomes air stale room in here once all my pieces are all top coated, because no dust can get anywhere. So basically the shop shuts down for production and becomes a drying room. So I would like to change that at some point, but for now, this is what I got to work with. And then I got a lot of storage back here, which is all my fancy woods and shipping supplies and stuff like that. All right. Alright guys, so here's my little garden space. So let me move this chair out of the way. So here's what I got to work with. So I'm hoping this little trellis, I'm hoping these beans that I planted here will be big enough to basically climb this trellis and kind of create these little green screen, not an actual green screen like a movie green screen, but like a green privacy screen that can kind of enclose this little patio area that I've had. But because we live in Bend, the season is so late to grow anything. It's mid-June and I'm still having trouble growing anything because it just gets too cold at night when you live in the high desert. So in this bed, I'm gonna plant some cucumbers and a patio stacker variant of the plant. I got some Scarlet Emperor beans in here. They grow really great in the heat. They love it, and they're growing really big and strong. I have some soybeans that have not germinated yet, but hopefully will pretty soon. In this bed, it's kind of dark. I'm trying to get a closer look. I got a variety of sunflowers. They're all kind of popping up. They still need a little bit more sun. The nice thing about sunflowers is they're heat and drought tolerant, so the more sun you give them, the better they'll actually grow. And then I got this tomato here that I thought was not doing too well, but it has grown substantially in the past weeks. It's grown over 6 inches in like the past week or two, and honestly I'm surprised on how well it's doing. And then of course I have a little green onion there that's been doing great in this little cup that I've had. I also have some basil that I started from inside and I've transplanted it. Some of them died off and the stronger ones survived, so that's good. And then over here is where I have more garden beds. So I had some spinach in this planter, but for right now I just got a bunch of junk in it right now just because it's a little too hot for spinach anymore. So I got my worm compost bin, so the worm bin is in there, so I just throw all my food scraps and the worms eat it up. I have some corn that I planted a few weeks ago. This whole bed has been planted with corn, but I only got like 5 plants to germinate, and there's one plant that's pretty big that's doing really well in the middle there. I have some peas that I'm growing here. These are Lincoln peas. They started in the cold, they're doing pretty good, and they do pretty well in pretty much all kinds of weather. Then outside next to these peas, I'm gonna grow some peppers. Hopefully the peppers will grow pretty big, but on the far side over here, so that is a Mongolian giant sunflower, and so is that one as well. They are tiny right now, but hopefully they'll get really big here in a couple of weeks. But I might have to replant them just because I planted them in too cold of weather for them to germinate, but we'll see if they'll grow substantially the next couple of weeks. We'll do some replanting. And then in this little pot, all these little pots are just a bunch of little plastic cups that I've saved over time just because I don't want to have a whole bunch of plastic going back into landfills. I figured, we'd just use them for planting things. And all these are variant of marigolds and sunflowers. The marigolds are not doing too well just because they don't like the heat and they can't really handle the cold at night, but sunflowers are a pretty robust plant and they can do a lot. And then over here I have some potatoes that I just literally threw into the ground. I had a potato, cut it in half. It had 2 little eyes on it. Cut that in half and put them in the ground and watered them maybe once every 2 days, and this is what I've been getting. And honestly, potatoes are probably one of the easiest plants I've grown. I literally, little maintenance. There was probably a couple of days when I just forgot about them because they were the only plants over here that I was growing, and look at them now. And then over here in the middle bed with the hose, can't really see them too well because they're in the back. I have some butternut squash that I'm growing in middle beds here. Can't really see any of them. They're all in the shade right now, but they've been doing okay. And I planted them about 2 weeks ago, and it's finally starting to get hot enough that they'll start to grow, and they'll be ready about the same time as the pumpkins as well. In this bed, I have some more sunflowers in here, just kind of more smaller ones, just to kind of create a little space in the front door. So there's my bike and another trellis where maybe wherever I grow the pumpkins in here, which we'll be planting today, will start to grow and climb that trellis and kind of create a little cool little green screen here as well, which it did last year and it was pretty nice, but that pumpkin plant started encroaching into the entryway, which if my bike's gonna be here, I need to figure out a plan for that as well. But maybe I'll just plant less pumpkins here, because last year I planted 4 pumpkins in this bed, and pumpkins need a lot of space to grow. They need about a foot of soil in depth. So now you know what my little garden looks like and what I'm working with, and you kind of see the starting stages. And it's like today is June 25th. I'm going to start planting things. I moved to Bend, Oregon about June 24th last year. Started planting pumpkins about 2 weeks after I moved here, so that would be probably near the 4th of July. And so we're beating the game by a couple of weeks now, just because we hit the real heat of the summer, I think. It's supposed to be nearly 100 degrees this weekend, so I think now is a good time to plant for germination, and that way they'll last pretty long. And they'll be ready about Halloween time. So I'm also planting some jack-o'-lanterns, but also I'm planning on planting some variant color pumpkins. I got Gerardale, which are those really cool blue pumpkins. I got some sugar pie pumpkins, which are really good for making pumpkin pies, which will be great for Thanksgiving. I also have some Cinderella pumpkins, which are just really nice decorative plump pumpkins, which look really cool. I also have Lumia pumpkins, which are white pumpkins, which are also really cool, and they're really nice to cook with, but also really cool looking for jack-o'-lanterns as well. So I'm planning on planting all of those today, as well as some peppers, just because it's so hot. I think the peppers might actually do well in germination, and we'll see if, you know, the season can carry that along. If it's that hot, we can see some pepper growth. Another factor I have to deal with is that we're in a drought in Bend, a severe drought. So I'm limiting my watering to very early in the morning. Trying to do it once a day. If it gets too severe, I might have to only do it once every 2 days just to conserve water, you know, just because we're in that heat drought. So enough talking, let's get started. So another little factoid about seed harvesting and planting. So what these are pumpkins I grew last year. So these are first generation pumpkins. So these seeds will create, so I have a few of them in that blue cup right there. That'll basically be they'll start making second generation pumpkins. So right now I'm soaking them in water and letting them sit on the sun just for a little bit, just so that way they kind of soften the shells, and that's where they're ready for germination. But yeah, so I have this can of first generation jack-o'-lantern seeds. Basically, the seeds, as they evolve into the environment that they're growing in, these pumpkins will actually grow up a defense system to whatever environment they grow up in. Basically, you know, if a pumpkin doesn't really do really well in like heat or in droughts, and you live in a place that's heat or droughts, if you can successfully get it to be a full mature pumpkin that creates full mature seeds, that pumpkin seed is going to be a lot stronger than last season's pumpkin seed and more developed for that environment. And so that way, you know, if you traditionally can't grow certain seeds or certain plants in certain areas, you just start developing these seeds to better adapt themselves to it. And as the generations go on, they'll grow those immunities against certain things. So I have in all these cups different seeds I'm going to start planting. And the yellow one here at the bottom, you can see there's some peas in there, which are good to add nitrogen. And for my corn bed, I'm using the Three Sisters growing technique. So I'll be growing peas and pumpkins in them. Those peas are going to be, I can't remember the name of the peas, but they are basically just a generic climbing pod. I think they're called blue leaf or blue lake silver pod or something like that, which would just basically be like the peas, and they can be eaten with the pod as well, and they climb in stalks of corn, or like they're pole beans basically, and they can climb stalks of corn, which is super helpful and helps keep the corn sturdier at the base. And I'll be planting jack-o'-lanterns in this bed as well, which will basically kind of it'll fight off weeds, and it'll also protect the base layer of the bed as well from the sun, so that way you don't overheat that sun bed, but also will create a lively environment underneath with healthy insects that will help keep the soil fertile and alive. So, and this bed basically will be my all-American bed. It'll have corn, it'll have pumpkins, it'll have sunflowers, it'll have peas. Basically, a pretty good standard, you know, all-American bed right here. If everything tends to germinate, we'll see if the rest of the corn will germinate. But I planted a first one about 3 weeks ago, and I planted a second seeding about a week ago, and we'll see how that goes. And then in the far bed, in the distance over there, the first one, that's where we'll have the fun pumpkins with blue, white, sugar, and Cinderella pumpkins are going to be over there. So let's get started with the jack-o'-lanterns and the peas at the moment. Alright, so here we are, finally down to the pumpkin bed. So, got a little pumpkin caretaker here. Just gonna set him in the ground. He's gonna watch over the pumpkins for us. Alright. You might want to lean a little bit. There we go. Once the vines come in, they'll wrap up around him and he'll be completely swarmed by pumpkin vines. But so just gotta clear this bed out a little bit. This little bee house I made. Pretty sure the bees are all out now, so hopefully I'm not disturbing anyone. But once these pumpkin flowers start to sprout, man, there's bees everywhere out here. Wasps too, but I think it's worth it just to have all the bees. A bunch of mulch from the garden everywhere, just kind of cleaning up from last year. Just threw it all in this bed. It'll be fine. Pumpkins will grow literally in just about any soil, any condition, but they are heavy feeders, so what we are gonna do, prep this top of this bed here with some steer manure, or at least mostly compost. It's not really strictly manure, but I'm gonna dump the whole bag in there just to get rid of it, because this has been sitting in my side yard for a couple months now. Just wanted to buy some before everything was gone. I bought it back in like March when the weather was still too cold. Just spread that, get it around. Spread the edges. And the reason I put the topsoil or put the manure on top is just to kind of, whenever you go to water these, the soil or the nutrients are gonna drip down with the water. So you want to put your thick, what's called nutrient material on top with your seeds. That way the roots will grow with the soil and the roots will go downwards. The nutrients will go downwards as well in the soil or with the roots. And what that will do is give you healthy plants and give you a higher chance of germination as well, just because the bed is moist and the soils, all the nutrients are on top. But, so now we got the bed prepared. Let's see, how many seeds do I got? I think I got 3 seeds of every new type of soil, seed I want. So there are all my seeds. So again, I have the Jaredale, which is the blue pumpkin, the Lumia, Lumina, I can't remember which one it is, one of the two, which is the white pumpkin, and then I got sugar pumpkins, which are good for cooking with, for making specifically pumpkin pies, and I also have a Cinderella pumpkin, which is a very nice, pretty decorative pumpkin, which can still be eaten as well. Technically, you can eat any pumpkin. It's just sometimes some of them don't taste well, and that's why you have jack-o'-lanterns, which are good for carving. Not good for eating though, but you can still eat them. Well, it just won't be as tasty as you think it will be. So I have 1, 2, 3. I have 12 seeds here, so I'm gonna plant 12 poles here. And the thing with pumpkins, you need a lot of space to grow. So if I can just get one of each of these to germinate, I'll be happy. So what I'm going to do is have 3 of one variety, 3 of one, 3 of another, 3 of them, and then by the time they get pretty big, I might have to snip off the 2 of the weaker ones, depending on how big they get. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to only have 1 of each plant, because boy, do these guys get really big. I had 4 Big Macs plants here last year, and they completely swarmed the entire traffic way here. So I need to keep this clear, because I have landscapers that come through that mow the backyard and the front yard. and I just want to make their lives a little bit easier, and that's why I keep that clear as much as possible. So here we got the first big seed. This one I believe is one of the, I want to say the Cinderella pumpkins. So we'll plant those. Start off with those over here. See how that does. And pumpkins, usually you want to have them about an inch deep in the soil, just because they got big root systems, as well as they vine out pretty big too. So let's plant. Make sure they have good contact with the soil. Just pat that down a little bit. You don't have to smash it down, just kind of give it a good pat. And go. So those are our Cinderella pumpkins put in the ground already. Alright, so next up we'll do the Gerardale, just because I can tell, because they're a little bit, they have a slight blue hue to them in the seeds, while the rest of them are pretty white. These ones are pretty dark in color. Probably want to keep the ones further over there alive, that way if they need to move over this way they can, and they can bring in a little bit more of a taproot, so that way I get more pumpkins from one plant than having multiple plants and take care of all of them. Should all survive. Just make sure at least one of each one survives. Okay, let's see. Got some slightly smaller seeds. I believe these are the sugar pumpkin seeds. And then the Lumineos front. They're gonna get the morning sun, just because I feel like since they're light, they're probably gonna sunburn pretty easily in the afternoon heat. So if I plant them in the morning sun, they won't get as burnt. But as the leaves come in, they'll protect the fruits, so you don't have to worry too much about pumpkins. Pumpkins are pretty hardy plants. As long as they get water every day, they'll pretty much take care of themselves. And I'll come back around and water all of them. But that's pretty much the start of it. I'll try and keep you guys updated on how well they grow. I had really good success last year. I grew a whole bunch of jack-o'-lanterns on this trellis, but this year I'm going to do some butternut squash and see if those potato plants start to climb on the trellis or not. And in this bed I might do maybe some kind of pumpkin of some sort, maybe try some new squashes, something in the cucurbitum family. But yeah, here we go, we got pumpkins started. Keep you guys updated on how that goes. Check back maybe about once a month, see how they're doing. They'll probably be sprouting by next week, or the week, definitely the week after that. But I'll keep you guys updated. Stay tuned, and see you shortly, but definitely not too late. I'll see you at least once or twice before Halloween. But all right, hope you guys have a good weekend. And I'm Alex from Beard Architect Designs, and this is my garden, and see you guys on the next garden update, or the build, whichever one comes first.